Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, is for people who are tired of being misled, over-medicated, and dismissed by the sick care system. Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, stands as the fearless voice of clarity and empowerment. Unlike sanitized health media or corporate-aligned medical messaging, Dr. Ron delivers bold, evidence-informed insights that cut through confusion and restore personal agency. His mission is simple and radical. Give people the truth, give them tools, and give them back control of their health.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the doctor's in the house, y'all. He's in the house, man. Listen to this, man. He got some good news for you. Hey, everybody, gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house.
He sure is.
The doctor is in the house. Yeah. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the Dr. Ron Doctrine. The Dr. Ron Doctrine. We've been talking about it. We laid the groundwork in the first 10 episodes. We showed you and explained how the doctrine is applied, and we're going to continue down that path. And I want to remind you that the information presented in this program is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, nor should it replace individualized medical evaluation or treatment by a qualified health professional. So again, welcome back to Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored. And today we're going to turn everything you have been told about plaque in your arteries, in your brain, we're going to turn it on its head. Last week we delivered the CKM, the cardio, kidney, metabolic syndrome, one body, one burden, one law. And I asked you a question at the end. Have they connected the biology? Have they connected the biology? Today we answer with a truth that's going to upset a lot of people. The plaque is not the disease. The plaque is the quarantine. The crime is the flood. The crime is the flood. So stick with me. This episode, I hope, will tie it all together. So here we go. Let's do something I haven't done before in this podcast. Let me walk you through all the 11 episodes in one sweep. That way you'll see the whole picture and understand what's coming next. So episodes 1 and 2, the fire starts. We opened with inflammation and glucose spikes. The metabolic fire, modern food processed and engineered to spike your blood sugar, keeps the fire burning low and constant for decades. Most of America is smoldering right now, and they don't even know it. Episodes 3 through 5, the river dies. We went deep into the glycocalyx, the protective lining on every blood vessel. The glucose spikes strip it away. And water, not a slogan, critical infrastructure. Without flow, what happens to the river? It silts up. Then we took the sledgehammer to the statin myth. Cholesterol is not the villain. LDL is a delivery truck. And the truck isn't the problem when the warehouse is on fire. In episodes 6 through 9, the burden formula, we defined metabolic load versus adaptive capacity. When the load exceeds capacity, the system breaks down. We gave you an example of a child going to school with a backpack. You put one book in it, no problem. 2, 3, 4, 5. You get to a point where the load exceeds the ability of that child to carry that backpack, and everything breaks down. We also looked at the immune system as the emergency response, not a separate department. And we did the great inversion. Stop treating numbers, start by treating the burden. Episodes 10 and 11, well, one body, one burden, one law. The CKM, heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, not separate diseases. One disease with different faces, same river, different neighborhoods. And now we're in episode 12. Wow. And this is one we have been building toward. What is the plaque? What really is all this plaque we're hearing about? So let's talk about Alzheimer's first. For 30 years, my friends, the amyloid hypothesis has ruled. Amyloid plaques, that sticky protein they find depositing in the brain, it was identified as the criminal, and billions of dollars were spent trying to get rid of that with different drugs. But drug after drug that was designed to dissolve these plaques, they failed. What happened? Patients got brain swelling and no cognitive benefit because the plaques were not the disease. They were the containment. There's a 2009 paper in the journal called Amyloid that made the case directly. Amyloid deposits can be protective. They sequester toxic products in the brain called oligomers. They confine dangerous protein species. They shift the equilibrium away from the truly harmful forms. The plaque is not the arsonist. It's the firebreak. In 2023, the lipid invasion model made it explicit for Alzheimer's. The real problem is not the amyloid. It's bad cholesterol and free fatty acids leaking through a damaged blood-brain barrier. The brain got overloaded, and it triggered the amyloid response. Damage the barrier, the flood begins, and the plaque is the city's last stand. And how about cholesterol? Same story. The artery wall gets damaged by glucose, and glucose spikes, oxidation, inflammation. The body sends cholesterol to the site as a patch, as a bandage, a quarantine wall, so to speak, to prevent the damage from spreading. Scientists have known this for decades. The drug companies built a 40-year industry on pretending it did not. So in a flood, the plaque is the sandbag. It is not the criminal. And so what happens when you treat the plaque as the enemy? You tear down the barricade while the flood is still rising, and the patient gets worse. Not because the treatment failed, because the treatment was aimed at the wrong target. So here's a metaphor I've used for years. It's about the firefighter. A firefighter arrives at a burning building. The first move is never to arrest the fire. It's to control the perimeter. It's called containment. The fire burns out if it cannot spread. Your body does the same thing. The plaque is the perimeter. The amyloid is the containment. The cholesterol patch is the sandbag. Now, and here's where I need you to listen carefully. The quarantine is not the solution. It's stopgap, a desperate temporary measure to keep the fire from becoming an inferno. The city doesn't need more barricades. The city needs the storm to stop. The river needs to flow again. The mountains need to stop shedding mud. And that means one thing: lower the burden. Stop the glucose spikes, repair the glycocalyx, restore the blood-brain barrier, cut the inflammatory fuel. When the flood recedes, the barricades come down safely. The body is endlessly resourceful. It built the quarantine to survive. It can dismantle it when the threat is gone. So the plaque is the quarantine, not the crime. What is the crime? The crime is the blood. And remember, the diagnosis tells us what happened. The doctrine asks what happened first. Let me tell you what 60 years of watching medicine getting wrong has taught me. I watched the cholesterol hypothesis rise and dominate billions of statins and cardiovascular disease. And guess what? It's still the number one killer. Why? My friends, because they treated the marker, not the mechanism. They treated the barrier, not the mechanism. I've watched the amyloid hypothesis burn through billions of dollars in failed trials because they treated the plaque, not the flood. And you know what? They're making the same mistake again over and over in every specialty. They're treating the marker while ignoring what caused it. We call it the burden. The plaque is the marker. The cholesterol is the marker. The amyloid is the marker. The disease is the burden. Metabolic load exceeding adaptive capacity. When your body can no longer handle the burden, when that child can no longer handle the number of books put in his backpack, when that is exceeded, then you get a disease. So I've had the same prescription for 60 years, but it's anchored in biology. Stop chasing the plaque, whether it's in your arteries, your brain. The plaque is the quarantine. Tearing it down without stopping the flood is not going to cure anything. 2, stop the source of the burden. Stop the glucose spikes. Get rid of the ultra-processed and processed foods. Control chronic stress. Get better sleep. Control environmental toxins that can now penetrate the blood-brain barrier. These are the mudslides. Cut off the fuel. Number 3, restore the barriers. The glycocalyx, that restore the blood-brain barrier. Restore the gut lining because there's a leaky gut syndrome also. These barriers are the levees. Repair them and the flood has nowhere to go. Trust your body's intelligence. The same body that built the quarantine can dismantle it. Trust your intelligence. Next time your doctor points to a scan and says, "Look at all that plaque," I would advise you to ask one question. What's causing the flood? What's causing the plaque? If they can't answer it, you have to think about what you want to do because the flood is the disease. The plaque is just the city fighting for its life. Hope I made that somewhat clear. I mean, the diagnosis is the end. It is not the beginning. It is not the beginning. The patient develops Alzheimer's disease. You identify the amyloid plaques. You can identify you can identify these tangles in the brain. You can identify when the brain shrinks, and eventually you get cognitive decline, and we have a diagnosis. But here's my question. Where did the disease actually begin? Was it when the patient forgot their keys? Was it when the MRI changed? Was it when amyloid accumulated? Or did something happen years earlier or decades earlier? Something changed the environment of the cell. Something changed the mitochondrial function. Something changed the oxidative balance. Something changed protein handling. Something changed inflammation. So what happened? Then we see pathology. Then we get a diagnosis. And this pathology, if it's the endpoint rather than the beginning, then simply removing the pathology may not eliminate the process that created it. And that's the question that is on the table during the Dr. Ron Doctrine. Another analogy that I'll give you is that think about a fire alarm. You walk into a building and the alarm is screaming. What do? You don't blame the alarm. You investigate for a fire. The alarm is telling you something. It's a signal. Now think about disease. You get an abnormal lab test. That can be a signal. The plaque can be a signal. Inflammation can be a signal. A calcified artery can be a signal. So the Dr. Ron Doctrine asks, what is the signal telling us? That doesn't mean the pathology is harmless. It doesn't mean amyloid doesn't matter. It doesn't mean cholesterol doesn't matter. It doesn't mean inflammation doesn't matter, but it means we should not automatically assume that the thing we see is the thing that started the problem. Let me just go a little further since we have a little bit of time today. There's an increasing amount of research examining the environment and environmental exposures, especially associated with neurodegenerative diseases. And aluminum is one example. In 2025, there was a systemic review and a meta analysis that examined 54 studies of environmental aluminum exposure and Alzheimer's disease or dementia. 26 studies reported positive associations, 24 reported none or negative associations. So the authors concluded that aluminum exposure may, that's the operative word, may contribute to Alzheimer's disease risk, but emphasized that it is likely one of several interacting factors that direct causation remains unresolved. And that's important. May contribute is an important phrase in that study. They did not say aluminum causes Alzheimer's, and that distinction matters, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier meta-analysis work also found high aluminum concentrations in the brain, in the serum, and in the spinal fluid among Alzheimer's cases compared with controls. But again, it was association, not causation. So what does the Dr. Ron Doctrine do with this information? Well, we don't dismiss it, and it doesn't turn into a certainty, but it asks, why is the aluminum there? What is it doing? Is it a cause? Is it a consequence? Or is it both? Could it interact with other biological stressors? Could the brain's response to an insult itself contribute to the pathology? So we have to ask why it's there and if it is indeed interacting with biology. And we could go through the same thing with Parkinson's disease and the accumulation of alpha-synuclein in Lewy bodies. Is the aggregate simply the disease, or is it part of the cell's response to a larger problem? Is it in response? There is interesting evidence in this case involving metals. There was 18 studies that were examined, 400 individuals, and they found that the substantia nigra in Parkinson's disease had significantly higher iron and lower copper compared to controls. That doesn't prove that iron caused Parkinson's disease, but it tells us something. Metal homeostasis, keeping metal at out of the brain, may have altered the disease in the brain, may have. So we have to ask why. Did it actually cause anything? Or is it a compensatory mechanism? And the same thing with plaque, as we've talked about. Could some pathological structures represent a response to an upstream insult rather than being the original initiating event? Do you get that? Is the plaque there as a healer, as a barrier? Is it containing the blood? Is it healing the artery? Rather than did it initiate the whole thing? And we always go back to the cell, ladies and gentlemen. That's the heart of the doctrine. It basically says disease is not where the story begins. It could be environmental exposure, metabolic oxidative stress, lots of inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, tissue dysfunction. I mean, this is what has to be recognized. The diagnosis only comes at the end of this whole thing. The cellular problems come much, much earlier. So instead of asking, how do we get rid of the plaque? We say, What caused the plaque in the first place? What caused our bodies to produce that plaque? That forces us upstream years and years before we get a diagnosis. If toxins are involved and contributing, the first principle should be, well, stop the inflow. You don't clean a swimming pool while somebody is still dumping garbage into it. What are we breathing? What are we eating? What are we drinking? All questions we have to ask. And most importantly, what exposures are still occurring today so that we can have a prevention strategy? If a substance is unnecessary and potentially harmful, reducing exposure makes biological sense. But I don't want you to turn into a generalized detox everything philosophy. We have to identify the exposure, measure it when appropriate, understand what's happening, and then intervene. Then we have to say, can our bodies that are so intelligent clear out that cellular damage? Interesting, isn't it? What does that cell do with all those damaged proteins? How does the brain clear the waste? How does the lymphatic system function? And these are housekeeping questions, and I believe they belong in the conversation about neurodegeneration, not because we solved the problem, we haven't, but because the cell housekeeping systems, they're there for a reason. Sleep is not an option in this whole conversation. We often just treat sleep as if it's simply time when the brain shuts down, but it's not. Dear friends, sleep is an active biological state. The brain undergoes changes in fluid movement, metabolic activity, synaptic activity. The lymphatic system has attracted enormous interest because of its potential role in clearing toxins from the brain. But there is a difference here between sleep is important for brain health, and if you sleep better, you will prevent Alzheimer's. The first one, sleep is important for brain health, that's reasonable. The second goes beyond the evidence right now that if you sleep better, you will prevent Alzheimer's. Okay. So I always want to talk about biology and not selling anything until it's certain. So we always have to say, now, how do we get rid of these toxins? How do we remove this accumulation? We have to go deeper. We have to ask ourselves, why and how did this accumulation occur? Because that's what the doctrine is. How did it occur in the first place so we can stop it? Now, you hear a lot of talk, even myself, I talk when I'm on other panels about frequency healing. And let me just talk a little bit about 40 hertz. This has been investigated a long time. It's a frequency that has the potential to influence brain activity and possibly disease-related processes in Alzheimer's. There is experimental evidence, including animal research and early human studies, suggesting that 40 hertz audiovisual stimulation can entrain brain activity and may influence brain function. But I want you to know it's still an emerging field. Now, the 2025 study did follow 5 people, human beings with Alzheimer's. They followed them for 2 years and reported that daily 40 hertz audiovisual stimulation was well tolerated, with some participants actually showing less decline than the controls. That means they did not get as bad as the controls. It's only 5 patients, but I'm here to tell you, and I'm not here to tell you that 40 hertz cures Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't. What I will say is, though, it's interesting enough to mention and to investigate, and if the risk benefit ratio, it won't hurt you. That's the doctrine's position. We don't reject anything because it's unconventional. On the other hand, we don't accept it because it is unconventional. We investigate it. Okay, so I could go on, and we'll save this for another episode. I want to talk a little bit in the future about chelation therapy. It is a real medical intervention, and we will talk about that. We will talk about glyphosate. Does it really replace glycine? And How important is that, and what does the study show? Being up behind on my slide, sorry about that. So here's a question I want to leave you with. If a disease becomes clinically obvious at age 70, here it is now, could the biological processes have begun at age 40? If so, what was happening at 40? What were we eating? What were we breathing? What were we exposed to? How much did we move? How well did we sleep? What was our metabolic health? What was happening to inflammation in our bodies? What was happening to mitochondrial function? What was happening to our cells? Because if that's true, as I have been saying from episode 1, prevention does not begin when the diagnosis is made. Prevention begins when the biology begins to change. That's a different philosophy of medicine. That's real prevention because the diagnosis is not there yet. The damage has not been fully there. The body didn't fail yet. When the body loses its ability to adapt, you have a disease. Now, I'm not going to tell you that aluminum causes Alzheimer's. I'm not going to tell you that mercury causes Parkinson's. I'm not telling you that every plaque is a protective response. I'm not telling you that detox protocols will reverse neurodegeneration. And I'm certainly not telling you to stop conventional medical treatment. But what I am saying is this: we have every reason to investigate the biology that precedes the pathology. What happened before we got sick and got a diagnosis? That brain fog, those tests that were normal, but we never felt good. We should investigate our environment, our metabolism, inflammation, everything we went through. And when promising interventions appear, we should test them. I hope you can see where phase 2 is going now. It's a little bit deeper than most people, I think about. The CKM, the cardiovascular kidney metabolic syndrome, taught us that the organs are connected. Now we're going to another level with the doctrine. We're telling you the cells are connected to the disease process. And what if many chronic diseases that we currently treat as separate conditions, how about, wouldn't it be something to know if they all share upstream of a diagnosis, the same biological drivers? If we could identify those drivers early enough, we may have an opportunity to change the trajectory. So, for decades, ladies and gentlemen, medicine has become extraordinarily good at identifying disease. We can name it, imagine it, measure it, classify it, we can treat it. But what's the next frontier? According to your host, Dr. Ron, I believe we need to understand what happened before the disease became visible. That's the Dr. Ron doctrine. The diagnosis tells us what happened. The doctrine asks what happened first. And if we can find what happened first, maybe we have a chance to intervene earlier. Maybe prevention can become more than a slogan. Maybe restoration can become part of medicine. And maybe we can stop waiting for the plaque. So I'm Dr. Ron. Phase 2 has begun. We're going upstream. We'll see you in episode 13. We're probably going to be talking about fibromyalgia and then neuropathy and then toxins, probably in that order. I'll see what kind of feedback I get from this one. So I hope it didn't confuse you, but we'll keep going over it. So this is Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored. You can subscribe to my Substack. That's docronradio@substack.com. And I have a PDF I wrote on this particular episode that's there now. So keep asking questions, ladies and gentlemen. Keep thinking independently and never stop taking charge of your own health. And remember, the body is intelligent. Every symptom has a story. Every diagnosis has a beginning, maybe 5, 10 years before. Every day, through the choices we make, we can either increase the body's burden or strengthen its ability to heal. Just think of keep adding books to that backpack. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Dr. Ron, and I have so much I would really like to pass on to you, but I just only so much time to do this. So docronradio.substack.com, or if you want to listen to the audio podcast, is at docronradio.podbean.com. God bless you. Have a great week. See you next time. We're going to have Freddie take us home.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for the day. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. And let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. So if you